guys, I can hardly believe it's been another week, but here we are. And I have to say, this I think has been the best week that we've had in France so far. It feels kind of like we're getting back to regular life a bit. So, I can pretty much guess what Mr. Huff is going to tell you his highlight for the week was.
I got my driving license.
He got his driver's license. And let me tell you, that is like exciting on a like family level, because I feel like that's all we have been thinking about for months. It has been so much paperwork and hoops and craziness. So that is definitely its own video in itself, and I will put that together for you soon, because I can tell you the adventures of driving in France have only just begun. So aside from that, as I mentioned, I feel like this is the first week that we're kind of getting back to regular life a little bit. So we're about 2 weeks past our first year in France. And I have to say that that first year was really dominated by paperwork. I spent so much time on paperwork that first year. So we're kind of coming out on the other side of that and getting to the point where we're starting to do some of our normal life stuff, not just adjusting to life stuff. So I'm back to doing recipe development again. And we're still doing a lot of work on the house, and I think we're finally hitting a point where some of the rooms are starting to come together. It's starting to feel cozy and more like us. So this week's video has, let's see, we have progress on the barn this week.
Mm-hmm.
And we've also been making some progress in the house. Mr. Huff has been helping me with some of my lamps. He's ready to be done with
light
lamps.
fixtures, lamps.
Yeah,
that has dominated my last couple of months.
Yeah, so we're getting close. We're getting really close. What else have we worked on this week? Made some more progress in the garden based on a lucky find at the grocery store. And then just grocery store in itself was just a big piece for our week. It's really fun to grocery shop in France, and we came across a couple really great deals this week, which led to me spending a bunch of time in the kitchen, but also getting a lot closer to having my stockpile and freezer stash like I would have had in the US. So that's a little bit of a teaser of what's in this week's video, and let's get to it. So today we're working on making some lamps for our bedroom. Now, as I mentioned in a previous video, for whatever reason, lamps are just kind of crazy expensive, and I don't want to spend like $100 a lamp. So we've been working on sourcing old lamps that need to be rewired or things that we can turn into lamps ourselves. So today's project is an example of us turning something that isn't a lamp into a lamp. So this right here is a lamp for one of the nightstands in our bedroom. And it originally started out as just an earthenware, like a wine bottle. And I came across this at our favorite consignment shop, as is often the case. And I think I paid like €2 or €3 for it. So it was very cheap. And as soon as I saw it, I thought it would be a really cool base for a lamp. And so my husband has put, as he'll show you in a minute, he's wired it up. So it's got a cord that comes out of the bottom of it now. And lampshades are surprisingly expensive too. Like, it seems like at minimum you're going to pay like $25, and more often around €50, which is just crazy. But I managed to find these drum shades on Amazon for $8.49 a piece, so very reasonable, and so it really comes together as a pretty affordable lamp, and I love the look of it. So he's going to take you through the process of making the second one.
So as Aaron said, we started out with this bottle. Went ahead and drilled this hole out just because it can be time consuming and somewhat technical. You have to have the right bit in order to drill through these things. So I've already done that. Next step is just to take your cord.
And these cords, you can buy this as a kit specifically for turning a bottle, like a wine bottle or something, into a lamp. So you just buy it and it's all together in one kit. So the first one I did, I had a little difficulty getting the cord up through the bottle or down through the bottle, either any direction. So this time I'm going to take a string, I'm just going to tape it to this cord. Then I'm going to feed this string through first and kind of pull the wire through. I think the string will actually
work better with gravity here than a rigid cord. So we'll find out here in a minute.
And so I mentioned I found the first bottle at our favorite consignment shop, and I think I paid €2 for that one. And then I found the second one at a thrift shop that we like, and that one was €1. So we have a total of €3 in the basis for our lamps.
Could have probably picked a shorter string, but I just grabbed the first one I came across. All right, let's turn it over and see if gravity does its thing. There we go.
Awesome. And so we are getting really close to having our bedroom finished, which is amazing. After being here for a year, we've kind of been, we were talking about this the other day, kind of glamping in the house, right? Like, so we have this beautiful house and some nice things, but kind of like when you're glamping on a camping trip, you have some nice things, but you don't have all the things you normally would have. So it's feeling really good to be getting our bedroom on track.
Next thing you want to do is take this little adapter, slide it over your wire.
Yeah, and so it's made to fit exactly into the...
Now these I found on the last one, it's really almost impossible to like push it in by hand. Yeah. So I went out to my tools and grabbed this, it's a deep well socket. You could probably use a spark plug one also, but we're going to take that. Let me do it this way. That way I can protect the cord. Just going to line it up and give it a little drive with my hammer. See, it's starting to go in.
There it goes.
There we go.
Yeah, so see, that little piece is really the magic of this particular lighting kit. It just fills the top neck of the bottle and allows you to turn it into a lamp.
It's nice and secure now. Now we've got your socket. I'm going to feed that wire up through here. Whoop, got that wrong. We want to go up through the bottom.
And so this is the same method that he also used to create the big blue and green glass bottle lamps that I showed you last week in our living room.
So the next step is to put this little strain relief doodaddy on your cord here. What that does, it prevents, once it's on here, it prevents people from pulling your cord loose from this socket that we're about to attach it to. So you just feed it up one side and turn the cord around, feed it back down through the other side. And you should have something that looks like this. Then you can pull your cord down and attach your socket piece. I'll come back and snug these down in just a second. Let's go ahead and put some torque on these. You don't want your cord coming loose. All right, so that just kind of like sits on top of this piece. Kind of just get it shoved in there. So the next step is to put this on here. It just screws on once you have everything lined up. It can be a little tricky sometimes. Okay, let's put the shade on. And our thrift store light bulb.
Yeah, we have found a thrift store near us that has big boxes of like LED bulbs that have all been tested, and they're like 50 cents a piece. So awesome deal. So we have really not been buying light bulbs for the house. We've just kind of been picking up what we need when we go into the thrift store. All right, so here are the two matching lamps, which is really fantastic. And like I said, it was two $8.49 shades, $3 or €3 total between the two bottles, and then whatever we had in the cords. So I think overall a really cheap way to get two lamps that to me really work well in the house and maybe reflect a little bit of the history of the area as well. So we will call that another project done. So while we were at the grocery store today in the bakery section, an employee came out with these big bags of reduced price bread. So this entire trash bag full of bread was €2, which is really fun. So I thought I would unbag it with you and see what we got, and we'll come up with a plan for using it all. Okay, so it looks like this one may entirely be baguettes. We'll see. There were two bags that he was putting out, and we kind of picked the one we thought might be the best. So we have limited cold storage here. The refrigerators in France, unless you get an American style fridge, they're pretty small, and our freezer's not particularly very big either. But my idea when I bought it was that it would be a good way to make some breadcrumbs, because normally in the US I had a container of plain breadcrumbs and another of Italian that I would make whenever I got a good deal on bread. So I will probably chop a lot of this up and dry it out in the oven, and then that will kind of get me back on track with another part of our kitchen, because living in the same house for 20 years as we did before this, you kind of get to a point where you have all your stuff on hand, all of the pantry ingredients and your kitchen equipment and stuff. So it's taken a little time to kind of get back there. So this would be another step in restocking our kitchen. So let me see, we'll pull all these out and we'll try to quickly count and see how many we got. So it looks like it's two different styles of baguette. So one with kind of a grain, one like a plain, and one more with a grain. Okay, move this bag out of the way. Okay, so let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So it looks like 23 baguettes for €2, which is pretty amazing. So I've got a kitchen project ahead of me for sure, but like I said, it'll be good to get something else restocked. When I was at Lidl the other day, which is a German grocery chain that's similar to Aldi, they had these flats of kind of fall and winter blooming plants. And I was really excited because while I haven't done a lot of planting in the yard yet, I have been doing a lot of planning. and I have kind of a working list of what plants I want in each of the garden beds and spaces in the yard. So this was particularly exciting to me because these flats had 3 out of the 6 plants that I had earmarked for the garden bed behind the small barn, which I'll show you in a minute. So I had a pink winter heather and a white winter heather, and then the silver plant here, and I can't think of the name right now, but it was, like I said, it was one of the 3 plants that I was planning on adding to this bed so that we would have some winter color. Because one of the cool things about living in Normandy is that you can have color in your yard pretty much year round. So in December, when I was in Tennessee and when there's nothing growing in the yard, here we can have just a whole range of colors. So I got 2 of the flats for a total of 12 plants, and I thought the price was really incredible. These were $5.99 a flat, and I had been looking online for plants, and even a single one of these plants was going to cost me more than that. So really excited about this deal and the fact that we'll actually have some color in our garden bed this year. So just to show you the space that I have earmarked for these, this is the back of the smallest barn, which is just to the left of the front gate if you're coming into the driveway. So this is an area that we drive past all the time, and so I've been really excited about the idea of planting things so that we'd have 4 seasons of color. So it's just kind of a nice thing to come home to. So now to get planting. Alright, here's the garden bed with the new plants. So they're really little at this point, but I don't think it's going to take them very long to grow big enough that we notice them as we're driving into the house. And I think as long as we keep working on this garden bed just a little bit at a time, planting things for each season, that before we know it, we're going to have our 4 seasons of color. So we just ran to the grocery store to get some heavy cream for a recipe I'm working on. And while we were there, they had these awesome boxes of veggies. The entire box is €3. So you kind of can get a little glimpse of some things that are in there, but you really don't know what you're getting until you come home. So I thought I would open it with you guys and see what we got this time. Now I have been needing to make some broth, so at minimum, this would be really useful for that. We got one of these boxes one other time, and it was really fun to finally use this for it. Oh, it's not just vegetables, it's got fruit too. Okay, let's see what we got. So, we've got raspberries, and they actually look like they're in good shape. They don't look like they're moldy. Oh, we got more raspberries. See, and I almost bought some the other day at Aldi, and they weren't looking great. So, there we go. 3 boxes of raspberries. Here's some ripe bananas, which could be bread. Alright, what else do we have? Looks like we got some parsley. Mr. Huff won't be excited about this one, but I am. It's mushrooms. These are really, really great actually in broth because they add a lot of meaty flavor.
Yummy.
Yeah, he's not excited.
Only with pepperoni on a pizza do I like those.
Yeah. Okay, here's something he'll be more excited about. Brussels sprouts. We love Brussels sprouts.
I do like those.
Yeah. More mushrooms. Bunch of loose mushrooms. So, one of my daughters is vegetarian. And I was just saying the other day that I needed to make some vegetarian broth, veggie broth, so that when she's here at Christmas, I've got stuff I can use in recipes. So, because I really don't like to use bouillon cubes, and you don't really find, or at least I haven't found ready-made broth here, so. But that's fine, because I actually prefer to make my own anyway. Lots and lots of mushrooms. Now I'm kind of wishing I had bought the other boxes. There were 2 other boxes sitting there, and I didn't know how big of a project I needed. But this is cool. Okay,
So
so
one box of raspberries will cost you €3.
well, yeah, it's okay. So at Aldi the other day they were $1.99 a box, which was actually fair, but they were moldy, so not fair. All right, so Mr. Huff again will be happy. Carrots. It's got one little spot there we'll cut out.
Those are probably grown here locally.
These look really good. Yeah, tomatoes still look great. We got a couple pears. Excellent.
A pair of pears.
I have really been having fun getting back to cooking again, doing all of my recipe development work. So one more carrot for Mr. Huff. And we've got some turnips. Those are actually really good roasted. So we may do that instead of, oh, he's got a mushroom stuck on him. There we go. What else? Potatoes. When in Normandy.
Potatoes?
Potatoes everywhere.
Those most likely are local.
Yeah, and let's see, another bunch of parsley, so I'll have to come up with a project for that. And we got some radishes. Those are also really good roasted, so we may do a roasted veggie tray, because I think I have more than enough stuff to do broth and something else. And then it looks like a couple more little tomatoes, different type, and then a bunch of grapes. So, I mean, that is an incredible amount of food for €3. They don't have them out all the time. And I haven't really cracked the code on whether there's like a certain day of the week that they put these out, or I'm sure they're just kind of constantly doing it as things were starting to get overripe. But I get really excited when they have one because it's kind of like a treasure trove for me.
That's a pretty good haul for €3.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that. So, looks like I've got some kitchen projects ahead of me. While the weather was nice, my husband picked the rest of our apples, and then I got busy in the kitchen developing new apple recipes. I made an apple pie and apple pie muffins. I also turned all of those reduced price baguettes into plain Italian and panko breadcrumbs. And that big box of reduced price vegetables, it was enough to make 21 pints of vegetable broth. If you're interested in any of these recipes, I'll include a link in the description below. Earlier this spring, my husband made a door for this barn because when we bought the house, it was just wide open. Now he's back to build screens for the windows. And these are going to have hardware cloth and then be trimmed out in wood. Now, this is partly to keep wildlife out of the barn while still maintaining ventilation, but it's also to dress up the barn a little bit. Since these are going to have wood frames, I'm going to be able to paint them out in the same trim color that we have on the house. So it should help to tie the barns and the house together. Okay, let me show you what we're working with. So as always, we are trying to keep this project as frugal as possible. So rather than buying lumber, my husband has taken apart an old oak pallet that was in the barn, and he's going to be using that for the frame of the window screens. And something that we have noticed while living here is that the prices in the hardware store locally usually are pretty high. But if you take the time to plan ahead and order things, then you can save quite a bit of money. So this roll of hardware cloth was only €6 online, so 5 times the price if we had bought it locally. Now, the only other expense that we should have on this project is this €3 package of wooden dowels. So this really should be a cheap project. And in fact, I even have leftover paint that we inherited with the house, and I think we should have more than enough to finish the trim on this. So he's going to get started, and soon we'll have another project off the list. And if you're wondering why he is working with hand tools, it's because we have yet to replace a lot of the power tools that we had in the US. So different cords here, and a lot of that stuff had to be sold before we moved. Check it out, the barn has window screens now. So I think the window frames look really good, and they should do a great job of keeping wildlife out of the barns. And just again, he was able to build these using an old oak pallet that he took apart after finding it in the barn. And while he was at it, he started painting the loft door as well. So it now has 2 coats of paint, and it'll get at least 1 more before it's finished. We've made some good progress on the barns this year. My husband repaired the large barn door after the 100-mile-an-hour storm that we had last November. And then he built an entirely new door for the medium-sized barn, and of course these new window frames that you just saw. We still have a bit more work to do before all of the facades of the barns are finished. So the large barn will need a door. That'll be a bigger project there because it's just got kind of the falling down remains of an old door. And then the smallest barn has the most work left to do. So it needs some garage kind of style doors for the bottom, a loft door for the top, and then another door at the end where we store our firewood. So those are going to be a little more involved than some of the previous barn projects, but really exciting to see us making progress.